Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. Thank y'all to everybody who has been rocking with us as we progress throughout the evening. Thank you to our sister Dana Marie for that outstanding interview. We talked about wellness and a lot of really cool things, and so I want to thank her for that. And but we're gonna go ahead and move on. As you folks on Facebook Live can see, we've had a new participant that has joined the discussion. Of course, live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio, my brother and partner and friend, Mr. J. Grizzy Green. What's up, brother?
Howdy.
How you doing, man?
I'm fine, brother.
You good, man?
I'm great.
You chilling, man?
Hard.
Outstanding?
Like a mug.
Yeah.
What's up, Facebook fam?
Word, man. It's good to see you, man. It's good to
Same
have
here.
you back in your home. So I know you got some cool things that you're going to be doing soon, some of which you might want to share, some of which you might not. But, you know, you're home
it's
here.
Coming.
It's coming, of course. Of course, rejoining the discussion, our brother Tavon is still here, as well as our sister Tony is still here. And, of course, we've got some love chilling in the room with us. Our brother Solo from All Throttle Radio is in the room with us saying whatever it is he wants to say there. There you go.
What's going on, guys?
What up?
Peace, brother. Peace. Ain't No Half Step with Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. I guess we can kind of move on to the conversation at hand here. There's a lot really to get to. I'm not even sure where to start. Tavon, last week.
Fill me in, please. Fill me in.
We'll get to it. Tavon, last week we had some stuff going on in Syria. And from what we're understanding, the first thing that happened that set off the current chain of events is the fact that Assad, the leader in Syria, basically gassed his own people. I believe this was Tuesday.
Right.
And then after he gassed his people, of course, the world was outraged. We all saw the pictures. We all saw the videos. We all saw what the humanitarian side of us would see that would lead us to want to make some sort of retaliation, in which the United States did. President Donald Trump ordered 50 Tomahawk missiles to bomb the airfield in Syria on Thursday. And there's more to it, but I think we got it properly set up. I know you've been following the news. You may have even talked about this on your show.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, man?
You know, I have all the empathy in the world, you know, for those babies and for those people that are, you know, lives are being lost every day. But I have an issue with us reprimanding somebody for something that our government is doing to us right here in this country. You know, you can say Syria is wrong for gassing Syrians, but in Flint, Michigan, we are still poisoning our people with the basic essential thing that we need, water. Really? So you have the hypocrisy. I mean, you're going to point your finger, and you're wrong for that, but you can't take care of home. We know there's ulterior motives behind that. We know with the ulterior motive, I mean, as far as they have the natural resources, as far as the oil and the natural gas. We know what it's about. Not fooled by that, but I have a hard time when my people of color, are still being treated like third, fourth class citizens.
Right.
I feel you on the, you know, oh, we supposed to be humanitarians and we got to reach out. Okay. But let me take care of my people first.
Right. No, I can definitely dig it. Tony, we know that you've also been paying attention to what's going on in the world with the situation in Syria and the president of the United States making the decision he made to bomb them. What's your thoughts on the goings on there and just how you feel about the whole situation at hand?
Pretty much with Tavon, I mean, you know, the U.S. is doing what the U.S. has always done. I don't want to put it this way, but sticking our nose in where it doesn't necessarily belong.
Yeah.
And it's going to end badly, as it always does. So, and it's very hypocritical. I really enjoyed the post that you had of I can't even call him president. Trump's tweets from when President Obama was in office.
Right.
Talking about him, bombing Syria. So
I think the tweets that she's alluding to, Grizz, on August 29th, 2013, Donald Trump tweeted, "What will we get for bombing Syria besides more debt and possible long-term conflict? Obama needs congressional approval," which Donald Trump didn't ask for. On September 2nd, 2013, he tweets, "If the United States attacks Syria and hits the wrong targets, killing civilians, there will be worldwide hell to pay. Stay away and fix broken USA." On September 5th, 2013, again to our very foolish leader, "Do not attack Syria. If you do, many very bad things will happen, and from that fight, the U.S. gets nothing." This is what the president, of course, when he was a private citizen, this is what he tweeted back in 2013. Now, you'll have some who will say that it's different now, but I would say the only thing different is who's the president.
Really?
What say you?
I can't. The credibility of the guy that's in the office right now it's been in question from the jump. So, like, anything he do as in acting out of that office, or if he's not in that office, I question the motive, the rationale. The reports go that it was tugging at his heart because he saw the actual carnage that was done by this bombing done in Syria, and that's why he volleyed all of those bombs over there. But something like that can move anybody, yes, but you're the president of the United States, the leader of the quote unquote free world, and something like that, so you mean to tell me I could just do something and trigger you? Like, they puppeting. I think they puppeting Trump, and I saw on the news before I left to come to the den today that the Russians have already, throwing it in his face that we flying planes right back already on the same airfield that they were bombing. So I think this was a distraction from all the, the other scandals that have been coming along, and it just was an opportune time for him to say, hey, I'm being presidential. And if you notice all the media coverage, of course they got to cover if we throw bombs on another country, but they making him legitimizing him as president. And I think the longer he's in that office, the longer people are going to get used to him being the leader of the free world. And I'm like, nah, I can't co-sign it. I ain't never co-signed it. You're not my guy, not my president. And I just think it's foolhardy for him to do what he did, for the simple fact that, to your point, to get back to your question, Obama did his best for us to stay out of it, even though he drew that fake red line. But he knew, I think Obama knew, I'm the president. I can say one thing and I can back down. If you gas your own people, that's a red line for the United States. We're going to enter it, But I think he knew as a president, hey, let me double check this. We have history here in that part of the world, and just to take it back to 2003, when we invaded Iraq, unwarranted by, with false lies and information that that Bush put us in that situation. That's what, 13, 14 years ago? We ain't coming out. And you just look at what Obama did. He was trying to change that foreign policy. We got out of Iraq, let them do what they do. If they gonna murder each other, if they gonna radicalize or whatever. Now, to be fair, on the opposite side of the argument, some people will say, get them, take a World War II scenario. Get them over there before it ends up on our shores. I can see that too, because I want to be able to go watch the Avengers in peace. I want to be able to shop and buy my fly clothes without having to worry about a bombing happening. I don't want to call, it's not anybody that represents Islam or Christianity, or it's just straight out violence and terror. It ain't got nothing to do with religion. You know, so I can understand the arguments that some conservatives will say, well, we better get involved now before it end up on our shores. But then in the same respect, and I'll wrap it up like this, if I was an Arab and I was born in 2003, and for 14 years, all I see is American bombs killing my mama, my auntie, my uncles, or something like that, but rest assured, I'm going to feel some kind of way about Trump, Obama, Bush, or anybody else. So that's how I think.
Nah, I mean, I can't dispute what you said. I mean, everybody's making, outstanding points, especially the last one, because if you think about the whole concept of my father's enemy is my enemy, right. You know what I mean? Like, you learn that from watching Cowboys and Indians as a child.
Watch that from Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so I just find it real curious. I think it was one of you guys made the point of the location that they bombed was a location that was barren. It was hardly anybody there, and it was up and running like a couple of days later.
Right. Next day.
And I think, I posted this immediately after it happened, that his poll numbers are down, and it's historically low. He's like 35%. Yeah. Right. And it's, you could be a guy that doesn't care for him and laugh about that. But the reality is, if you live in a country within the first 90 days of the presidency and he's in the mid 30s, that's not good for any of us. That's like being in an airplane with a pilot that's he can't fly. Can't find the word I was looking for. Incapacitated is the word. Incapacitated is the word I was looking for. You know what I'm saying? And it's scary, especially when we know that President Obama never got below 40, and when he got to 40, he was over 900 days in. You know what I'm saying? And we talk about him being divisive. I think that's an outrageous thing when you look at how the Syrians have a relationship with Russia that's very similar to the relationship that we have with Israel. Yeah. So when you look at the fact that we bomb an area that will have minimal casualties, but we get to look to our people who want that as being big time. Tavon, you also made another awesome point, Grizz. I want you to comment on Tavon's point after I flesh it out about how we know what's going on all around the world. We spend so much time being big brother to all around the world, but we got babies right here in Flint, Michigan, and Jersey City, New Jersey, who has a very similar water problem to Flint. And if you go and if you do the knowledge, there's about 20 or 30 cities that have not gotten the national publicity that Flint has gotten, but there's about 30 cities across the country right now that have very similar water problems to what they're dealing with in Flint. And if you just think logically about how Flint had their problem, then you can understand why. Actually, you'd be surprised that it's not more than 30. If you think about what really happened in Flint, aside from the fact that those people got sabotaged. I mean, obviously they got sabotaged, but the way they got sabotaged is something that could happen naturally. Anyway. You know what I'm saying? So having said that, we just spent, and I didn't know this until I looked it up, but each one of them Tomahawks cost, depending on where you look, somewhere between $500,000 and $1.4 million. So let's say they cost $1.4 million. They shot off 50 of them. You're looking at almost $100 million.
You ain't thinking about that.
$100 million that went to go and blow up some stuff in another country.
But the thing is, you keep telling us the area that was hit was barren and non-residential. How do we know that?
That's the reporting.
That's
a good
have
question.
you seen any
That's
pictures?
a good question.
You haven't seen any.
I haven't seen any pictures.
Well, you're not going to.
Usually when we bomb something over that, the technology we have, we put cameras on everything.
Everything.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, we had they had pictures of Bin Laden playing Super Nintendo in the house.
For me, it's a credibility issue.
Exactly.
Anything with credit, you have to show me that you can do something or that you have done something before I will accept your prowess in
being a leader
in said things. For example, we never seen Bin Laden's body. He just got buried at sea.
They just said that.
They just said they got him, but then there's credible intel that says that he had been dead for years. At that point, we don't know. We hadn't seen any photographs or video about what they got in Syria last week. But we've also gotten the intel that same airstrip is back up and running already. So let's just think about this logically.
By the way, that intel not from us. The Russians was the ones that were filming it and saying, "Ha ha ha, Trump, you think you did something, American people? He didn't do anything."
Well, let's just think about it logically, though. Like, if you bomb someplace and you get found out that you didn't really do anything, but you still got polls that shows that 57% of polled Americans were happy that you did that, but 60% didn't want the previous president to do it.
Right.
So how do we rationalize that 57% is happy now, but 60% didn't want this to happen?
Twofold. I'll take that one on first. Twofold. First, education. We do need to educate better in our country for the simple fact that dumb people elect dumb candidates and things of that nature. Second, race. People didn't, middle America did not like Barack Obama until some of them never liked him. But if you go back and just real quick to the election, the people that swung the election for Trump instead of Clinton, even though it shouldn't have even been that close, white women in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, things of that nature. I mean, a middle-aged white guy is going to do what he thinks is best for his pocket, I think. Those voters haven't changed. It was just when Donald Trump came in and dog whistled all of that stuff with the Bertha and with the take my country back and
so basically, because I want to speed it up a little bit. So basically, what you're saying is you had a whole lot of folks who chose Donald Trump because he was clearly going to change the trajectory of how America was being run at the time.
Exactly, and they did that because they thought, oh, we're being weak because.
So how do you feel, and I guess we can change kind of the tone of the conversation with the actual basis still being Syria, but I guess we can change the tone of the country. Tony, I want you to jump in here at this point. When you look at the difference between how it was run before to how it is run now, many of us see a very clear difference. I want everybody's opinion on it, largely because one of the first things that he said he was going to do was roll back a lot of the social causes that President Obama was the head of. One of them, I'm asking you first because the first one that I can think of off the top of my head was the stuff for the women. Like last week, I think was a day where women were getting like 21% off in the stores and stuff, which was Women's Day, and it was the same day that he signed an executive order that rolled back something that President Obama signed so that there would be advancement. That's just one example.
That's why they marched. They marched.
That's just one example. So, just in your opinion, what do you see as the differences? I mean, we've mapped out the difference between how the country viewed Syria, the Syria conflict. But what else do you see? Because clearly you're not happy with the guy as the president. Hold on, let me get you. Okay, go for it. That's my fault.
Bling,
Is that better?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
For me, he's very radical. People talk about terrorists and it's not associated with a religion. It's people who are radicals. To me, he's a radical that has been elected by the American people. So he's doing what radical people do. And quite honestly, I haven't watched the news in I don't know how many years. But every day I go on Bing, that's my search page, and there's something crazy. Yeah, you get your old
free advertisement.
Every day, every single day, there's something else. He is headlining the news, and not headlines that you would normally associate with the president. You see a lot of course, the social media stuff that he's still trying to be like the king of and get as many likes as he can and followers and tweet as much as he can. But everything is so just over the top and unreal. And I say this all the time, the people that elected him, they're very quiet.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, Tony. I'm going to stay with you for a minute because I have not seen a lot of people who. There's one guy that I do blog with in social media who was very pro-Trump, but if you ask him directly, he'd say, "No, I was just anti-Hillary Clinton." I respect that. I didn't care for either of them. I didn't vote for either of them. He just happened to like her so much less that he voted for him. I can dig it. But other than him, I know a lot of people who supported the president during the candidacy period. That now. You know, I think to save face, if you catch him in a quiet moment, they might say, "Yeah, he's still my guy." But honestly, I just don't know. I just don't know.
I did. It's funny. One of my coworkers who was a huge supporter.
Right.
I guess maybe within the first month or so, she made the comment about how people are so disrespectful towards him, and she has never
You gave it a side eye, right?
such a president seen a president been so disrespected by people. And I did, like, I was walking away and I like stopped and I was like, "Are you like being serious?"
She just came back to the country.
Yes, did you? I mean, do you people calling him names and making all the jokes? And I said, "Do you know how many times President Obama was called the N-word and people said things about his wife?" She was like, "Oh, I guess I didn't really hear much about that then."
Selective. Selective.
Yeah. So.
To your point, Mark, about like you don't see too many people that's vocal about Trump now. Well, I saw a map. I saw an article, news agency. It wasn't fake news, ladies and gentlemen, about how polarized and how separate we are as a nation. And, you know, they do the red and blue map. And you look at the coast, pretty much are blue. Urban areas in the South and the Southeast, pretty much all the urban areas were blue or Democratic or liberal leaning. But the swath of the country, for the rest of the middle part of America, was red, conservative, Republican. And usually when we talk about politics, we usually speak about it in not in a vacuum, but based off of who we know, who our peers, and like we're having this round. I'm sure not nobody voted for Trump that's sitting in this room, and we probably can count on one hand people we know voted for Trump. And that's because we live in an area that is, thank God, a little bit progressive, majority minority here in the city of Richmond. And so we're not going to hear those opposing views that, you know, the middle of the country has. And so, like, I ain't going to lie. I blocked everybody that was on that Trump train that was coming out. It was almost like coming out of the closet. Shout out to the LGBT. And what's the other one?
LGBTQ.
Yeah, shout out to them. But everybody was coming out the closet during the campaign season. Block. I don't block. And sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, this is comical, but this is real at the same time. When I'm on the road and I see Trump, Pence bumper stickers, I want to fucking run them off the road real bad.
Really?
I said it.
Really?
I said it. Yeah,
Really?
I'm on there. I said it.
Really?
Jay Grizzly right here.
Really?
All views said by Jay Grizzly.
Really?
Is not supported by Legacy Internet.
Notice he's not responding to my really.
Legacy Media Group or Marcus J. But it just, I don't know. It just
Get on with it, man.
It's visceral. It's visceral. Just like they were visceral towards Obama and his family, his kids. Like, I'm visceral towards Trump. I will never forget. This is the main thing. He literally said, "I'm going to grab him in the pee, and now I'm the president."
Yeah, I mean.
They got him on tape.
Yeah, you know, the difference is.
I can do what I want.
The difference is to me, is just immeasurable, Tavon. There's so many. And the main one that I see is the intellectual capacity of the commander-in-chief. When you're asked a question, just the thoughtful nature that President Obama would attempt to give you versus, and then you can go back to previous presidents. I tell you, Donald Trump makes George Bush look like a genius.
He really
you
does.
know, and that's
He
crazy.
really does.
You know,
No, they close. They close.
Nah, I don't think they are, honestly.
I'm joking.
But just your thoughts on the differences.
He has only been in office. It's not even 3 months.
Early
Full
80s,
years.
81, 82 days, something like that.
Trump has only been in office. It hasn't even been 3 months yet.
Not yet. Nope.
For him to go on his daily Twitter rant, for his press secretary to come out and disrespect the press corps, on a daily basis, especially your sisters. Susan Rice, I commend you. Yeah. For him to not be able to conjugate a complete sentence without using the words very, very, or
huge,
or
sound like Kurt Angle.
Huge.
It's true. It's true.
it's true.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Believe me. Like, get the fuck out.
That alone.
Really?
My bad.
Yes, you're bad. There's your two.
The mental capacity alone is befuddling. You know, to use a big word.
So he goes from the F word, and you go to befuddling.
What we get here at Legacy.
Hey, man, it's wild. It's just I'm just aware of who my enemy is now.
Right.
You know, I'm aware. I mean, because you made yourself known during the whole electoral process. And believe me, I didn't forget.
No.
You know,
I ain't gonna forget.
I know who you are. I know what you said. And now you're sitting there looking at me for help.
No, you ain't gonna get it.
I can't do nothing for you.
They vote against. When I say they, I don't the pronouns I hate. So I'm sorry.
But you okay with the F word though?
Yeah, totally. It's a verb. And it's got a lot of different connotations. But the people that voted for Donald Trump and Pence and that whole gang of people, like. I'm not, they're going to say, well, that's the reason why he won. Mainstream media people would downplay the fact that there is a growing anger in the belly of the country that wants to be heard. And what white folk, I keep asking y'all that, what y'all scared of? We after all this, and I'm just talking directly to the Facebook, what do you call it, Facebook Live?
Yes.
I get old man now, but like, what are you scared of? Even after slavery, Reconstruction, the Civil Rights era, and currently to this day, we still ain't coming to y'all house with pitchforks yet. So they ain't enough.
We still marching.
Scared? Yeah, we still marching. We asking, and y'all still scared? And y'all gonna put that? You see me? I'm getting there. And y'all gonna put this fool in office out of fear. And he played y'all for it. And y'all look stupid. And y'all don't even, when I went to work November the 9th, I stood up in the middle of who voted for him? Crickets.
But you know they did.
I know they did. The cowards.
You know they
Total
did.
cowards. Remember in 2008, when Obama came in, I came in with the James Brown music in my headphones.
But here's the deal, right?
Strutting through like it was me. I pulled the final lever.
Here's the elephant in the room, right? When the Constitution was written, it was written by a bunch of rich white men who didn't care about nobody else but other rich white men. The Constitution, even though it says all men are created equal except for us blacks who were 3/5 and all of that stuff, and there's a reason why we were 3/5, and I'm gonna come to that in a minute. But all of that was about land. It was about property. It wasn't about people. As far as the 3/5 is concerned, here's the knowledge on the 3/5 of a human thing, right? The South knew, and it's all tied to the Electoral College too. The South knew that they ain't have enough people, because even to this day, the Northeast is heavily populated.
Right.
So the South didn't have enough people to send enough people to Congress to get enough power
to represent
them. So what they end up doing is they wanted to include their slaves. But they weren't going to include their slaves as a whole number. They couldn't do that because then they would have to honor what they said. So
tell it, Bob.
They wanted to figure out a number that they can use that would pad their numbers while at the same time keeping the slaves in it. So that's where the 3/5 of the human thing came from, and it was never amended. But
another quick stat, Mark, and I'll go ahead and let you move to the point. Speaking of that, in the South, white folk were the minority. Like, there was 4 million black people at the end of the Civil War living in the South.
Yep.
Maybe 2 million.
But I mean, it's the same.
2 million white folk, and it's the same.
But it's the same thing about.
And
power.
they gerrymander it now.
But the thing of the matter is, it's all about fear. I mean, everything is based around fear. I mean, you got a whole religion that's based around, hey, if you do good now, you'll prosper when you die. Why can't I prosper now? It's all about fear. Everything is about fear. But when we talk about how that Constitution was set up,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't care about nobody but rich white people. And what they ended up doing was they ended up convincing poor white people
folk.
that anybody other than you is a problem. They want to take your stuff. They want to take your land. They want to take your women. You know what I mean? And that's what the whole big house versus overseer thing was all about. Reality is there's only about 10 or 12% of white people actually own slaves. Everybody else was was just poor, was just poor white people. And so
you mean there were Brad Pitts, like from 12 Years a Slave? They were like all white people back then were like the Brad Pitts.
well, I don't remember the movie that well, but
He was the one that got Solomon to realize
I got you. But
you need to get up out there.
But the point is, ultimately the point is, everybody wasn't rich. The rich people convinced the poor people
Right.
that the minorities were going to take what little they had. So when you fast forward that and you look at it under the backdrop of the American voting system, it's the reason why rich white people are still in control of everything.
So
that's
Trump-
the essence. That's the essence of what white privilege is.
Trump played the rule book or the handbook.
He played it, and because it's constitutional, it's ingrained in the American psyche. And until there's a concerted effort to change that, then it's always going to be this way.
True.
So you got some folks that say, "What's the point of even voting?" Because it's already a fail-safe built into it that's going to keep you from getting what's in your best interest. And they're going to always get what they want.
Why did I-
Because it's too. I saw a meme. You guys remember Trading Places, right?
Yeah.
I saw a meme that had Eddie Murphy sitting in the middle, in the backseat of that car with the Dukes. One of them was Republican, Randolph and Mortimer. One of them had a little sign that said Republican, and the other one had the sign that said Democrat. Now, those of us of a certain age remember that movie, and I think it's probably one of the 1983. Yeah, one of the three best movies that Eddie ever did. But the reason why that meme was so powerful, because that's the essence of what the Republicans and the Democrats are.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. It's Burger King, McDonald's.
That's it.
Who
Pepsi and Coke. You know what I'm saying?
Who gonna take the mantle though? And I don't know if this is off topic, and you can always
Probably.
get us back. Who's gonna take the mantle of Bernie though? Because I mean, Bernie and Jill Stein was speaking to that, and he had some momentum.
Well, strategically, I'll say it to you like this in a wrestling, because I know that you'll understand this, right? Some folks are great, but they need the greater one to put them over.
Right.
And Bernie was good, but he wasn't good enough. He needed Hillary Clinton to put him over.
He was the ultimate warrior.
He needed somebody to put him over. And so the fact that she, in her arrogance, did not choose him.
She wanted power.
I think it was strategic in her mind, because she thought that she was going to get Latinos by choosing Tim Kaine because he speaks Spanish.
Right.
But what she should have noticed was
That was darn near racist of you, Hillary.
Like
Who you
she's
talking
like,
about? You talking about Hillary?
Like she's a presenter from that. But when you see millions of millennials just losing their mind for this dude
and not voting for him,
and you didn't select him. I mean, it was just strategically a bad decision. It was just, I mean, I don't even know how else to say it.
They would have painted him.
I know Joe Biden is sitting back. Damn.
Yeah, he should.
Well, he already came out and said
But he was going through a tough time. Though.
Yeah, with the son and all
But
that,
he already then came out and said that he felt like he did the wrong thing by not running.
But he couldn't predict.
We had about 10. It's an article. I'm looking for it right now. I know I had it up on my screen here, so bear with me. But we had about 10 Republicans who were supportive of, well, actually not supportive of the last administration, but they're currently supportive of this one. And if you would just bear with me for a minute, I usually have that kind of stuff up, but I don't have it right now. I'm looking for it. But I guess the point that I want to make is the fact that everything seems to be so partisan, Grizz.
Right.
The fact that this particular president can say it, so it's okay, But the last president
When
said the same thing or was doing similar things, and we had a problem with it. I got it right here, and just as thank you, Tony. Tony's pulling it, and I pulled it right when you got it. I'm not going to read all of them, but I'm getting this from rawstory.com.
Is that fake news?
I think the president would say that they probably are, but
Right.
I would disagree with him. 10 Republicans who have done a complete 180 on Syria. The first one, Paul Ryan, although Ryan gave Trump his approval for the airstrikes, 2013, he said Obama's proposed military strike cannot achieve its stated objective and could make things worse. What do you say to that?
I mean, I just saw the picture, and it was just like, pictures say 1,000 words. Repeat it for me again, Marcus.
It
I'm
says,
sorry.
Paul Ryan in 2013 said that Obama's proposed military strike, quote, cannot achieve its stated objectives and could make things worse. But he supported Donald Trump when he just did it.
It's partisan. I mean, like, I don't know what Bannon or the son-in-law or even Trump got, or they might be, I might get in trouble for that. They might be pimping out somebody in the, I don't know what they doing, but.
Bannon lost his gig.
Yeah,
so.
he going, I mean, I think he's still going to have some type of influence in that. Like, when it comes to Republicans, and I'm kind of partial because I'm a progressive, forward-thinking, smart, intelligent person.
Who?
Me.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, I know, right? The Republicans, the hypocrisy. The Democrats are hypocritical too, but if you want to compare, it's like apples and oranges or a -2 to a negative infinity. Like, the hypocrisy that they display is just beyond me. Like, Paul Ryan and the Republicans are going to say that now because they have a Republican in office. I mean, if Barack Obama could have been anybody else and they would have said oppose him, the level of opposition reflected was done by because Barack Obama was, quote unquote, Barack Obama.
We can talk about whether it's a black thing or not. I think that's too easy of an argument.
I can't help it.
I think that's an easy argument. We can go there, but I don't really want to go there because
Why?
again that's too, because I mean playing the race card is just too easy.
But it's the truth, right?
There's elements of truth to it, but I personally choose to find another argument to utilize because there are other things.
Because they'll shoot that. I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? It's too easy for them to come back to.
Right. I see what you're saying.
When you say
you got talking points, Marcus.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm honestly, I'm just used to having a debate.
Right.
And I've learned, the way, the places to go and the places not to go. Tony, Marco Rubio has been giving praises to Trump's airstrikes, but 2013, he said that, quote, I have long argued forcefully for engagement in empowering the Syrian people. I have never supported the use of military force in conflict. What do you think?
I mean, yeah, it's the Republicans stick to the party lines more than anything else. Their moral compass is kind of like out the window when it comes to certain issues and topics. So it's kind of like, we're talking about earlier, Grizzly mentioned Foghorn Leghorn. Like,
I say,
yeah. I mean, it's like, that, it's not necessarily the right thing to do, but everybody else in the group is looking at you like, so you're going to disagree? So you don't have a choice but to say, well, they feel like they don't have a choice.
Right.
And then you have to look at, too, their ulterior motives. Like, okay, my goal, maybe I want to run, next term. So I better kind of stick with the group and do what everybody else does.
But is that really good for the people?
Absolutely not.
Because of course, and that was basically a rhetorical question.
Sorry.
Rhetorical question because, my biggest deal that I guess intellectually I have a very hard time dealing with is the fact that we seem to care so much more about what goes on in other countries that we absolutely thoroughly neglect our own country, all the way down to the point where they're talking about humanitarian efforts and those little babies and how sad it is and all that kind of stuff.
And it
while all of that, exactly, while all of that is absolutely 100% true, where you lose me is we have those same issues here.
Okay.
But it doesn't affect their house.
Right. It doesn't.
It's going to be different. If things were here in the U.S. and
If
we had to
Beverly
worry
Hills
about
have a blackout.
driving around because a missile might hit your car while you're on 95, it would be different. But because their house is in order, they got food to eat, they're not struggling to pay bills, they're not worrying about contaminated water.
Let's put it this way.
But I guess before you say that, Grizz, I mean, that makes sense and I hear you. But my thing is, why are we so wrapped up in the humanitarian effort of the little kids in Syria? I don't want to be cold-blooded because I'm not. It was sad to me to see that dad holding his dead twins. I think that touched everybody. Hold on, let me finish this point. I think that touched everybody. But when you say because they're kids, we've seen because they're kids in Flint. That's what I'm struggling with, Solo. That's what I'm struggling with.
All right, so
Solo. It's a much bigger picture than just the kids.
Okay.
A lot of resources are over there that they're dealing with.
I mean, that's the elephant in the room. Yeah.
You mean
the whole thing. I'm very quiet to the situation.
Yes, you are. I can dig
I
it.
really don't have much to say about it, but it's a much deeper picture.
Well, it's all about resources and money,
right.
and we also know.
Right.
I mean, that's the elephant in the room, and I think we're clear on that. The fact of the matter is, there is money in war. There's going to be people who are going to benefit and profit if we go to war, and you have to have war for the purge. You got to purge every couple of years. You got to have some sort of purge. People don't like people, and not like the movie, but on a more sinister scale. At least in the movie, not yet. At least in the movie, you knew that on June 1st, it was on. It's a good bet. You probably should stay at home, and if somebody's coming for you, they're coming in your home. I mean, for those folks who've never seen the movie, we won't get into it. Look up The Purge. That's what we're talking about. But the reality is, with war, it's not always like if you just think about every war we ever had.
We've been at war for a long time. The country.
I mean, if you look, there's very small stretches in the 250 years or so that we've been in existence that we weren't at war.
But the American people have been conditioned.
They're going to call us un-American. You know that, right?
Have that sympathy. If you think about, from the beginning of, even back to like the Civil War and whatever the French.
Indian
War.
Here. We weren't even a country.
Yeah. But, the propaganda that was used, started with these, which, I mean, it is. War is a horrible thing.
But we're the greatest nation on earth.
Right. And to see someone living in conditions less than or other than what we are accustomed to, that tugs on our heartstrings. I always think about, growing up, you would see the fund for the children in Ethiopia where you would, adopt a child and send money. And so I thought like everybody in Ethiopia was poor and starving until I went off to college and all the Ethiopians I saw had money.
Right.
And they said, we thought all Americans were poor.
Right.
So it just depends on, what the media puts out there and what our government wants us to see and feel.
Right.
And sometimes they're successful in doing that.
Well, the propaganda behind that is they don't want people of African descent to see the greatness of Africa.
Right.
Because if you see the greatness of Africa, then you will know the greatness that is within you. There's a whole generation of people who think that Africa ain't nothing but a Tarzan movie. And the great white hope can swinging through the vines and fighting crocodiles and lions while the African people will cower, and let them do it, which, intellectually that's asinine. But anything that you have indoctrinated in your mind as a child becomes part of your natural thought process. That's what the whole point of being brainwashed is all about.
I'm going to speak to the Flint point for a second. I did some research in regards to a situation where some property had some plumbing issues in Richmond. It was a family member of mine. And the pipes that the city, and I'll just speak on the city of Richmond, not the property, but the city of Richmond utilities was originally built in the early 20th century, like 1918, 1920, something like that. And every once in a while, they do maintenance to it. For folks up north, it's just like the subway in New York. That came about, Richmond had the first, trolley car in the 1880s, but they did maintenance to it. And for the last 100 years now, America as a whole, when we had this industrial revolution where people were getting indoor plumbing, hot water, refrigeration, electricity, things of that nature, it boomed so much, and it helped expand the country and made us great and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But that's all we did. We didn't do anything to upgrade it, maintain it. I haven't traveled. I used to love to travel, but I haven't traveled to any other countries in the last 10 years. But when I went to Europe and saw that their trains was like our automobiles, didn't see that many cars. I see media reports in Japan and in Asia, South Korea, things of that nature where, their infrastructure is so well advanced, and it's because we've taken over the last 100 years monies for wars, monies for propping up these big banks, and just let the bridges, the infrastructure, the pipes, the things of that nature, just to fall to hell, and it makes it easier if you live in Flint, Michigan, to divert the water from one water source to another water source because you don't think that the people that's getting that water source is going to care. So it makes it a lot easier for them, and it puts a strain on these local districts. And I'm not excusing that. What I'm saying is that if Trump wanted to be what he said he was going to be for the people and do all of that, one thing you can do is put an infrastructure bill out there so that money can get to these communities. Congress needs to go ahead and co-sign these things so these monies can get to these communities. Block grant it all so you can just give the money. Don't make no people jump no hoops, because I drive on these roads. My kids could be drinking this water, and I couldn't imagine if something like that was to happen. If I was a parent in Flint right now, I would be beyond pissed. Right. If I had property in Flint, I don't know the property in Flint, probably. I'm not shitting on Flint, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
there's a story there.
Right,
there's
really?
Definitely a story there. Let me get a couple of comments in from social media. Our brother, Coach Reggie Ship, Capital City Reaper, says that this man shot off 59 Tomahawk missiles that cost $500K each to hit nothing but concrete. They warned Russia, so they moved the planes instead of the hit. That's not a coincidence. Absolutely. We talked a little bit about that. Our sister Ashley Joy of Joy and Body Radio says that she spoke with a few Syrians that she knows personally, two actual refugees, and others aren't, but all of them are happy that Trump bombed Syria when he did and the way he did. So maybe we should look at this bombing from all sides, not just through the lens of the American civilian. Respectfully disagree with that. Tim Man, our brother Tim Man, is checking us out, saying peace to the family. And so is our sister Michelle K. I'm going to address Ashley's point. Before I do that, I want to introduce new person joining the discussion. Of course, our sister Shayna Latia is here. What's going on, Shayna?
Hi.
How you doing tonight?
I feel great.
Absolutely.
How are y'all?
You're doing outstanding.
Namaste.
We're talking about the president and the bombing in Syria, and I just want to go ahead and address the point that Ashley made, that she spoke with some folks from Syria. The Americans were very much opposed to bringing in Syrian refugees to this country.
The
majority, and were against it, for a variety of different reasons. Some were afraid that some sort of jihadist Muslim extremist would make his way or her way into our country and do some sort of sleeper cell type stuff. Then you had some, quite frankly, that are on the y'all problem, y'all deal with it type of mentality. And so as an American, I don't know that there's any way that I can think of it other than as an American. Having said that, Donald Trump said, no, y'all can't come here, but then went on TV and borderline cried in his beer about how bad it was for this to happen to them.
Preach.
And his retaliation
Preach.
is to bomb them.
Preach.
So basically, Syria, y'all are bad for bombing your people. So I'm going to teach you to stop bombing your people
By bombing you.
your people.
Preach.
Really?
Yeah. He just, I mean, like, it doesn't make I'm going to let Shana Latia get in. Namaste.
Shana, you can kind of see, I know you're coming in a little bit late, but you can see where we're going. What's your thoughts on the situation?
I think it's really sad. Like, maybe I don't look at people as in the physical form. Like, these are children. These are human beings. These are spiritual. These are people. Like, they're suffering so bad. Like, I'm hurting for them. Like, it hurts me to see this. That bombing surprised me. It happened when I was at work. Like, and news flash. I'm like, oh my God.
I thought it was fake news when I saw it.
Oh,
I couldn't believe
couldn't
it.
believe it either.
I
I was like, oh my God. So y'all just gonna bomb these poor people that don't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? You already see the pictures of the kids.
Foaming at the mouth.
Already, so it hurts. It hurts, it hurts really bad that these people have to endure this.
Honestly, I'm going to be...
Keep it 100.
I'm going to keep it 100. I don't care enough about Syrian people like I care about the kids in Flint. You know what I mean?
So
I care about all people.
I got you.
I mean, that's just
but
me.
we're
as a government.
But the reality is, if we are at our house, wherever we live in Middle America, United States, inside our house, and our house is on fire, literally, our house is on fire, and you look down the street, and the neighbor's house is on fire. Which house you gonna put the fire out in?
Mine.
Exactly. So
I feel that.
America always wants to go put out somebody else's fire.
Before taking care of business.
$94 million we spent in Tomahawk missiles that the president of the United States has stock in the country that shot off those missiles.
And they will say that they're going to build some more, but...
Think about it. But think about that.
They will, of course.
I think y'all might have missed what I just said.
I totally get what you're saying, bro.
But I think it's sad that the United States can't take care of its own people, one.
Well, they put the wrong person in office if they wanted to do that. Bernie Sanders was the candidate that they would have thrown out all these. He's an isolationist. He's a communist. These labels that would have scared, like the fear in this country and the ignorance in this country is at an all-time high. That's why someone like Donald Trump, Steve Bannon, his son-in-law, those guys get into office. When we don't have a true and honest and real conversation, and I'm tired of folks asking, I want to say people that's in power, asking the people like us to be real and have an honest conversation. No, we've been living it. I came into this world a black man. I'm gonna die a black man.
I honestly, I'm no longer interested in being politically correct.
Right, like it's like we don't need to have that conversation. You need to have that.
Yeah.
They need to have that conversation, and that conversation happened with that election that just passed.
I think America, honestly, you got some explaining to do.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know how. Say what you want about Barack Obama, as his presidency progressed, I had very mixed feelings about his presidency.
Based on policy.
One thing based on policy.
Right.
One thing that never wavered was the fact that I was proud that a visual black man, because he's half white. People always forget that he is half white. But you are what you look like in this country, for real.
Thank you for telling the truth. Thank you for telling the truth.
No matter what.
You are what you look like.
But to strip down I'm sorry, Mark. To strip down just that truth in and of itself, for you to have to say that he's half black and half white. White people were the first people to shun him and say that no, he's an all black man. Yeah. They was the first one to put a turban on him and put a nose ring in his nose.
But you also know about the drop. The one drop rule. That's essentially
so
what that's
what I'm
all
saying,
about.
like
but we know.
Well, there's a lot of white people around here with that one drop of black in them, but they won't go get tested.
We don't have that real conversation.
I mean, and see, but this is the essence of what I just said.
Mm-hmm.
You are what you look like.
What you look like.
You are what you look like. Whether
There's some
for
black
fair,
people out here who look all white, like
for
mixed.
fair or not,
And they,
you are what you look like. And I think that in a country, hold on,
don't matter.
Speaking to the mic, what you say? Give me my mic.
It doesn't matter the shade, the color. If you're black, you have a little drop of Negro Ninja in you, you will get lynched. Plain and simple. It doesn't matter. You could be a house ninja, whatever. Guess what?
We don't say ninja. We know unless you got the mask on and a sword.
Well,
that's a
well,
ninja.
I wouldn't. Well, we don't say that in all throttle, so bear with me. You will get lynched. Plain and simple. You will get hanged. Plain and simple. Yeah. You're not safe from anything.
Well, we also live in a country where the Black Panther Party was created for the sole purpose of protecting black people from the Ku Klux Klan, and the Black Panther Party was infiltrated and destroyed from the inside out, but the Ku Klux Klan still exists. I mean, if that don't tell you how America rolls, then I don't even know how else to explain it to you.
But they will say, no, that's not true, Mark.
You know what I'm saying?
That's not true.
They basically enacted a law for the sole purpose of keeping black men in berets and leather jackets from openly carrying their weapons.
That's not true.
The Mulford Act of 1967.
They was at a polling station in Philly. They are alive and well. That's not true, Marcus.
1967. Pull out your phone and look up.
No,
the
I'm
Mulford
being the
Act.
devil's advocate.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
the Mulford Act. No, because I know this. Trust me, I've studied
you're
it.
telling the truth.
And this is the whole point. This is the whole point. But I think we're getting way off a topic here. We're going to kind of move into some other stuff here. Ain't No Half Step on Marcus J. Live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to have two members of the 1993 St. Anthony High School basketball championship team on the live line with us. We got Kashara Wilson, an NBA star, Rashawn McLeod, going to talk to us about our alma mater closing. Why is it closing? Can anything be done about it? A lot of us are pretty sad about it. We're going to have a conversation. You're listening to the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. It's called Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. We'll be back in a few minutes, y'all. Stay with us.
Yo, it's Big Rube, Legacy Internet Radio. You know what I'm rocking with. Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. Check us out, www.legacyinternetradio.com. Of course, as you know, independence is the key to building your legacy. It's Big Rube. You better be listening. Bow.
What up, everybody? It's your girl, Jody Smith, JWM Jody Music Mixtape. It's a classic. Get at my dude, Marcus J, on Legacy Internet Radio. Ain't no half stepping. Get your own JWM mixtape. Hit me up. Jody Smith on Facebook, Jody Music, Jody Music, or you can hit me up on Instagram or Twitter. They're both Jody_804. Get at me on YouTube. That's Jody the Artist. Check out some of my footage, some of my videos. You can listen in on SoundCloud, Jody Smith Music, or just give me a call at 1-262-JODY-804. That's 1-262-JODY-804.